The following podcast contains strong language, adult themes, including gambling, and discussions around physical violence. Sounds great, doesn't it? But if you do think you are one of those people that may be offended by such things, discretion is advised. Or just, go and put Radio 4 back on. Welcome back, episode 4, Octagon Odds. We've got so much to go through in the next few weeks. We've been blessed with many huge fights on the horizon. Starting, of course, with Marvin Vettori against Paulo Costa in Las Vegas on Saturday night. But before we go through any of that, we've got Ross Beaumont with us as usual, George Hardy with us as usual, and making his first appearance on the podcast, the notorious Sam Manny Mansfield.
Yes,
with us for the first time. Welcome to Octagon Odds, Sam. How are you?
I'm very good. Thanks for having me. Fellas. It's an honor.
The first thing we need to ask you is, if you put in Amanda Nunes in a combined male and female pound for pound list, does she go number 1 or number 2?
Great question.
Yeah, I mean, not to put you on the spot with the first one.
So are we talking if they were the same size and they were fighting?
Yeah, pound for pound.
That's what it is.
Pound for pound. Okay. Usman beats Amanda Nunes.
So, but Nunes number 2.
No, yeah, Nunes number 2. She's going. Okay. She's going.
Well, that's perfect. That's exactly how we had it on last week's show.
I can't get out Usman not beating Nunes.
Fair. Neither of us argued that, I don't think, on last week's show. There was many arguments, don't get me wrong.
There's a heated one.
Yeah.
It was a good one, though.
That wasn't one of them. On this week's show, it's not, to be honest, it's not a great card again this week. Costa Vettori is definitely the main highlight, but it gives us a chance to really sort of go through that fight in depth. Elsewhere in Bellator 269, we've got Fedor's return. First time in 2 years, I think we've seen Fedor. He's facing Timothy Johnson in the main event there, so we'll also run through that. And this week, hopefully less arguments, but we're also going to try to put together our anatomy of a fighter. So we're going to try and piece together the best elements of each fighter in the UFC and sort of piece together a dream fighter, if you will. But we're going to start with Bellator, and we're going to start with Fedor. And of course, while it being his first appearance on the pod, we're going to go straight into Sam Mansfield and ask, does anyone want to see Fedor fight again at 44 years old? Do we want to watch this?
As McGregor would say, he's 45 years of age. He's too old.
That's the worst.
The worst Conor McGregor impression ever. But he's old, but he can still lay people out, and it's what people want to see, really, isn't it?
Say he's old, but he's only
heavyweight division.
He's only 1 year older than Yoel Romero, and it's not so long since removed that we were all calling like Yoel Romero the dog of the UFC's middleweight.
Yeah, but
division.
He's a freak. He's a freak. He's one in a million human being. That's what I mean.
Yeah. Do you think he was created in a lab? He's created in some sort of Cuban lab during.
There's no doubt. No, but I tell you what, he's definitely filled with things that were made in the lab in Cuba. Let's just say that. Bursting with it.
On Fedor, looking back through his most recent fights, I'm still a little bit impressed with his record, to be fair. Last 5 fights, win over Quinton Jackson, a loss to Ryan Bader, a win over Chael Sonnen. I can already hear George saying, yeah, but they're old. Frank Mir, win over Frank Mir and a loss to Matt Mitrione, which I still think he's fighting well. I still think the record maybe looks better than it actually is. What about you, Ross?
Mate, have you seen his fight against Chael? Like within in the first round, they get into a bit of a clinch situation, and then Fedor does some mad like Sambo roll, and he looks like he's about 25 doing this roll, and then just takes. In fact, I think like first exchange he puts Chael on his ass. So yeah, obviously 45, and he's fighting Timothy Johnson, who's 36, which. Well, to be fair, he's sort of getting on as a fighter himself. But yeah, he's not. Fedor fought twice in 19, now they were his last 2 fights, whereas Johnson has fought 3 times in 2020 and then once this year. So he's a lot more active.
Active.
Yeah, he's a lot more active, isn't he?
Yeah, I was gonna ask
gonna-
about that. Do you think that'd be a factor, age plus inactivity?
I think
Never
it
usually
is.
goes well, does it?
Yeah.
Recipe for disaster.
Like 45 is old, really, in it for a fighter. Like, yeah, Romero, yeah, but as we say, he's a freak.
Fedor says though, George. Fedor says that he at 39, 6-0 still, 45 years of old, 35 years of age, that he can make one more go at the Bellator title, one more run. Do you think that he's got it in him?
Yes. When I look at Fedor, it's difficult. I mean, he's a legend of the game, and he's got like 39 wins and like 6 losses, I think.
Yeah.
And
5,
yeah, like you said, 5 losses. Okay. And like a lot of them are recent. I mean, he's lost 2 recently.
Oh, is it 6? My bad.
Yeah, he's lost.
Thanks for the correction, Ross.
2 in his last 5. Lost to Ryan Bader. Lost to Matt Mitrione.
To be expected for a fighter who's 46 years old. And he did. Like he said, like Rampage, Chael, and Frank, and Matt. They're all older in fighting terms now. But it's like Fedor's old. They're old. Almost levels it out a little bit. I'm quite impressive to see what he can do really at the age of 46. And he's, I think, like, I don't know. I wouldn't count him out of this one.
Speaking of not counting him out, I definitely wouldn't count Timothy Johnson out. Obviously, as Ross mentions, he's the young guy. I'd also say he's probably more in the title picture of Bellator than Fedor is at the minute. His last fight was for the interim belt that he lost to Fedor's protege, if you want, Valentin Moldavsky. He also got a win against Czech Congo, who has beaten Fedor in the past. So he's definitely dangerous. What do you think? Do you think the age difference is really what's going to play in his favour here?
Who are you speaking to? Me?
I'll speak to any of you. If any of you think that Timothy Johnson is going to come and bring it.
It sounded like a direct question at someone. That's why.
Sorry, I'll direct him.
Don't direct him. Freestyle it.
Yeah, go freestyle, bro. Anyway, yes. To answer your question, Tim Johnson is probably my favourite to win it. Just because of momentum. He did lose his last fight. That is very, very true. And it was this year. His only fight this year. He won 3 last year. He said he's more in the title picture. He's younger. I think he'd probably take it, to be honest with you. It's not like Fedor's fighting any of these similar aged fighters now. It's a guy that's about 10 years younger than him. It's going to be difficult for anyone, that even the killer that Fedor is.
Sam, do you think the home crowd will be a factor in Fedor's favour? He's not fought in Russia in 5 years, so it's the first time he's going back there since 2016. Obviously, the atmosphere is probably going to be off the charts. Do you think that helps Fedor, or do you think that adds a bit of pressure for him?
I think it adds pressure, but at the same time, it's the home turf, it's the den, it's the pitch, it's where you want to be, and it's always going to have a massive effect. You look at any sort of sporting event in history, and it always makes a difference. But I personally think Fedor's going to do it. I think he's had 3 knockouts in his 3 Bellator wins, and he's going to lay him out.
Anyone? So we've got 1 for Timothy Johnson. We've got 1 for Fedor. What about you, Ross? The bookies. I haven't seen any UK odds available on this one yet, but Timothy Johnson in the US -150 favourite at the minute. Fedor +120 underdog. So Ross, what do you see it? What's your pick?
Now, Adam, I've not learned from my previous mistakes, and I've not figured out whether it is a 3 or a 5 round fight. I did this with MVP and Douglas Lima. I thought it was 5 round.
It's funny you say this, actually, because I was listening to an interview with Scott Coker, and it was the week after MVP and Pitbull, and he announced that all Bellator main events will now be 5 rounds. I don't know whether it was because we called him out, but
yeah, I reckon it's probably because of that.
Yeah. But yeah,
I really listens to the pod.
Realistically, it's not going to be 5 rounds, so is it?
No. Well,
it might be scheduled for 5
sways
rounds, but
well, if it's 3 rounds, that sways in Fedor's favour because I can't see his cardio being up to what it used to be, up to going 5 rounds. Nevertheless, I think Timothy Johnson will probably get it done on the night just through being active, and he's like more than twice. He's more than like 2 times active than Fedor has been in the last couple of years. Almost 10 years younger than him. I think all that's going to play a factor. And I think Timothy Johnson's going to take it.
I think it's a difficult one to call because, like you say, you wouldn't expect Fedor's cardio to go 5 rounds. But I almost can't see. Can you see Johnson getting him out of there early? Because I guess I don't really see Johnson physically as that much of a threat to Fedor. But then, I also can't really see it going the distance. It's a weird one. I think I'm leaning towards Johnson, but if I was going to pick via a method, then I'd probably have to go decision, I think.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Like, when you look at all of Fedor's recent, well, I say recent, like most recent was 2019, but he's not had a decision fight since 2016. Like, they've all been KOs. TKOs.
No, the last one. Did the last one not? Oh no, you know. Right. Yeah, sorry,
not Rampage out, didn't he?
Of course.
Not Rampage out last.
Round one. I think that says a lot.
So
he's clearly still got the power.
He wins or loses.
Yeah, I mean, I've completely changed my mind about the decision there. I don't think we can.
What are the odds? What are the odds for it?
The odds have got to be against you there.
Surely there's some value in round 2 or 3.
I've no UK odds, but there's always value in betting rounds. But I think, and we'll talk about it later in the show when we talk about mine and Ross's failed bets from the weekend. But I think we were maybe a little bit too specific on, say, Jib Miller. I don't know whether round betting you get good value, but it's obviously a lot more treacherous, isn't it? But maybe the value here is Timothy Johnson inside the distance.
Is there no UK odds on it? No.
There will be. They're always very late to bring UK odds out for Bellator. Usually because like lower down the card are like pretty unfamiliar names and like they haven't had many fights, so they can be quite difficult to price up. No disrespect to Bellator, but to a bookmaker, more people bet on UFC than Bellator, so the priority would be to get the UFC odds up and sorted first, and then do Bellator last.
We've got to go with the first round Fedor. Either he wins or he loses.
If you can get a bet somewhere for it not to go past round 1 and you don't have to specify in which direction it goes, then I'd snap that up with both hands, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going Timothy Johnson inside the distance. We'll put on our social channels on Twitter, Octagon_odds, Instagram, Octagon_odds, and Octagon odds on Facebook. We'll put up our picks and the odds when those do eventually land. And if we have any more picks from that fight between now and then when the odds do drop, we'll let you know about them on our channels. But lads, time to move on because we really wanted to take a deep dive into Paulo Costa and Marvin Vettori this week. Because to me, this one really sort of sounds the starting gun, so to say, on what's going to be a hectic few weeks. And there's so many massive fights coming up. And this one's sort of all up there on its own on this card. So it just takes center stage. And I think obviously both of them are coming into this one off a loss to Israel. So it gives them both a bit of a chance to, steal some headlines before 267, 268 and start putting themselves into some big fights. Yeah, let's get to it. I'm going to start with Sam on this one. We saw Marvin Vettori last time out against Israel, and obviously we mentioned Paulo also last fight against Israel. Whose loss to Adesanya was the most embarrassing or the most the most emphatic in Israel's favor, do you think?
I definitely think the Costa one, the way that it finished, was the most embarrassing. I think he took that very, very spitefully. He doesn't want to be friends, as he's been saying. But I think it's sort of a battle for second, and they'll probably get another title shot. For me personally, I think Costa is better on the feet. I think he probably will grind out a victory. It's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be a great fight. I can't wait to watch it. But over the course of 5 rounds, which I think it might actually go to a decision, I think Costa might edge it. He'll be too strong, too powerful, and he's got a fire in his belly again.
Yeah, and you made a couple of interesting points there about potentially going to decision. Vettori's gone to the cards in 9 out of 11 of his UFC fights. That's 81% have gone the distance, which is obviously quite high. And on the flip side, Costa's only been to the judges once, which was in the 3-round fight with Yoel Romero in 20. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think. And we might as well just talk about that now, to be honest. Forget what I was even saying about going the distance and what a fight that was.
Yeah, one of the best fights. Like
one of the greatest.
Yeah, one of the best fights ever, to be fair, considering it was only 3 rounds as well. Both absolute dogs.
You know, sometimes when they build up fights and it doesn't quite live up to it, and like you expect it to be, this was like the complete opposite, where it was like it played out exactly how we expected it would, didn't it? Like it was just at it from minute one.
Yeah,
I'm actually.
Go on.
I was going to say, I'm actually of the opinion that Romero took that one. You know.
I think I thought that at the time. Yeah, at the time, I think. But then I think I rewatched it and I thought I could see how they'd give it either of them. It was very close. But I remember when I was watching it, I did agree with that statement. Yeah. But anyway, shall we talk about that?
How good is that form against Yoel? Because obviously, on Costa's side, he's also coming in off a loss to Israel. Then the fight before that was the Yoel fight. He's got a win against Uriah Hall before that, a win against Johnny Hendricks. Like I look at Costa's record and I think it's good. It's not great. Bear in mind that Yoel Romero's lost, I think he's lost 5 of his last 6 fights between UFC and Bellator. So, and as Hardy just rightly pointed out, it wasn't, an emphatic decision win against Romero. It was very close. So I guess what I'm asking is Vettori, what probably other than Adesanya, the biggest test that Costa's ever faced, George?
Yes, because of the wrestling. Obviously, the striking factor was what Adesanya won over Costa. Now, my issue with this fight is, yes, Vettori's a good wrestler, but we saw him. He seemed very limited when he was wrestling Adesanya. Now, we know what he's like. He gets better. But does that mean he's going to struggle taking these top guys down? Costa's a strong man. And if he hits Vettori...
He's a big boy.
He's a big boy. And if he hits Vettori, I can't see Vettori winning in striking at all. And one thing that Vettori did against Adesanya, which might leave him susceptible, is he went to the striking out of just sheer, like, I'm better than you at striking, even though he's not. And he just kept coming at Izzy and kept getting licked up from a distance. And I know that's not what Costa's about, but fuck me, if you're going to wade in head forward with these shit punches that Vettori's doing, he might get his chin licked early,
Yeah, and that is, the stats very much read out exactly kind of how you've seen it in terms of striking. Like, Costa averages 1.3 knockdowns per 15 minutes compared to just 0.9 for Vettori. He outstrikes him by more than 3 significant strikes a minute. He lands 57% striking accuracy compared to Vettori at 43%. So surely, yeah, if Costa's able to keep it on the feet as he was against Romero, because not forget, Romero's a hell of a wrestler as well and very, very strong. And Costa was able to, even though Yoel took him down a few times, he was able to scramble back to his feet pretty quickly. So surely that's what it comes down to, Ross, wouldn't you think, if Vettori is able to take him down and damage him on the ground, then that's his path to victory. But if Costa can keep it on the feet, then he has all the advantages, doesn't he?
Yeah, yeah, you're not too far off with that. I think Costa's got pretty good wrestling. He's got a good scramble, and as you said, he did pretty well at recovering from Yoel's takedowns. However, from what I've seen from Costa, he tends to go full on straight away and gasses himself out quite easily. Vettori has never been finished. I think he's got a very good chin. He went 5 rounds with Izzy. So if Izzy can't knock Vettori out, can Costa? Because Izzy knocks everyone out. So even though like Izzy's like an accurate striker, Costa's like a power puncher. But nevertheless, Vettori went 5 rounds with Izzy, who's putting everyone out like quite easily, really. And another thing with Costa, from what I've seen, he doesn't really tend to change his game plan. When something's not working, I don't really see him changing anything. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think Vettori he's got a very good gas tank. We've seen it a few times. Saw it against Jack Hermansson, who's very good on the ground, and Vettori got some good ground and pounding against Hermansson. Obviously, we've seen him go 5 rounds with Izzy, and he stuck with it. He got beat hands down, but other than gasoline, no one's done that to Izzy. So for that reason, I think that Costa's going to maybe gas himself out, and Vettori's going to take the win.
In terms of gas tank, I don't know whether this speaks to how much this speaks to it in your opinion, but Vettori's average career fight time in the UFC is more than 15 minutes, and Costa's is like just over 7 minutes.
So we're talking about make it very far, Costa.
Vettori's averaging
heads out, though.
Yeah, Vettori's averaging more than 3 rounds though every time he fights, and I don't think Costa's ever been more than 3. He's never been more than 3 rounds. So.
No, I don't think he has, and we still see him gassing out before 3 rounds. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah. I take back everything I said about my bet.
Have I just swayed you there, Sam?
Those stats have swayed me.
I just thought fire then, you know.
In my opinion, I just saw a war. I just see 2 dogs about to go to war. Obviously, the knockouts can happen, and it's looking that way in terms of the stats. So it's not going to go past 3 rounds probably, but I'm hopeful, and I think that I do believe it's going to be an all-out war slugfest. So I can't wait to watch it.
In terms of game plan, obviously we touched on Costa sort of rushing in, particularly in the early rounds, and that's kind of one of his strengths is that explosiveness in the striking. I thought one of the things that Izzy did really well against Costa was he landed over 20 inside leg kicks in the first 7 minutes of the fight and completely disabled Costa.
That's what I mean. Costa did nothing about that. He didn't change anything about his game plan. He just kept eating them. And that's what I've seen a lot from him. He just doesn't change stuff when he's getting beat.
Having seen that, though, if you were Vettori, surely you'd be saying, okay, I'm going to, especially in round 1 and 2, I'm going to throw some of those leg kicks in early.
Yeah, it looked like they did absolute bits. You see the state of his leg. Even after like 5 kicks, it was turning purple. It was horrible.
Yeah, done out.
But it's got to be part of the game plan for Vettori. Work the legs, because for any power puncher or for any striking-based fighter, if you can take the legs, especially the lead leg, then that is disabling a big part of the arsenal, because obviously they just can't strike as well.
Right, we're gonna take a quick break, and then we're gonna come back. We're gonna finish going through Costa Vettori. Still plenty more for us to chat through. We want to chat through the bets. We'll quickly run over our bets from last week, and then anatomy of a fighter. Okay, part 2, episode 4 of Octagon Odds. We're right in the middle of previewing Costa against Vettori from this week's UFC Vegas card. Now, we were talking about before the break, it is a very interesting matchup this week. We were just saying that Costa has arguably, well, definitely really the better striking, and Vettori's the much better wrestler. Ross, we wanted to touch on kind of whether we think it would go the distance or not, because as we were saying, 81% of Vettori's fight have gone the distance. On the other hand, only 1 of Costa's has gone the distance. So something's got to give there. Which way are you leaning in terms of, does this fight finish inside the distance or not?
Yes, so I relate back to my previous point of Costa quickly gassing himself out. I think that Vettori's going to take full advantage of that, and he's going to grind on him and work him. And I think that he might even get like a stoppage in the 4th or the 5th, just because Costa's, I can just see him being gassed, and Vettori can put the pressure on. And I think he's got good striking, Vettori. Even against Adesanya, he landed a few good strikes. He's got power. I mean, Costa's got more power, yeah, but it's not all about that. And one of the main things that you need in this game is cardio. And if you don't have it, then you get exposed big. And as we mentioned, Costa has not gone past 3 rounds. Vettori lives past 3 rounds.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see Vettori finishing it in 4 or 5.
If you were Marvin Vettori, you'd be thinking, right, rounds 1, 2, I've got to get close to him, smother him, get him in the clinch, tie him up, wear those arms down, take him down take him down if I can, beat him up if I can. Don't just minimize, especially in those first 10 minutes, the amount of opportunities there is for Costa to land strikes on the feet. But yeah, I don't think Vettori's striking is bad. He's much better at keeping the range and keep striking from distance than I think Costa is. I think Vettori absorbs like 3 or 4 strikes less per minute than Costa does on average. And I think that speaks to, Sam, doesn't it, Costa's style, which is very much kind of in your face. I mean, the famous adage is he walked down Yoel Romero. I was trying to get through the whole podcast without saying that. But is that what you would expect him to do in this one? It's just because we didn't really see against Izzy either, to be fair. He sort of kept the range. Is that what you think he'll go back to, just straight at him?
I think he sees this fight as a basically a stepping stone, and I think he'll want to walk through him. I don't think he sees Vettori as highly as the rest of us do, and he'll just want to walk through him. But it's going to be interesting to see how Vettori deals with that being on the back foot, or even if he is going to be on the back foot, they might just both try and exchange. But either way, there's going to be. I think the cardio point is huge as well. It was something that I didn't really think about in terms of Costa moving forward, but it's going to be interesting to see whether he sort of reverses back to how he fought with Izzy, or just tries to be a dog.
See, I think that as much as you're saying Vettori striking in the raid, I think you're underrating Costa's gas tank. Like, how many fights have we seen him in where he's gassed? In the Romero fight, he fucking got dropped, and they was still swinging in the 3rd round as the bells were coming close. He's not. I think you're underrating his gas tank.
I think he was gassed though. Still, even though he was swinging, and yeah, he can still put it out. I think he was still gassed at that point. But that was a war. Like, I feel like anyone would be gassed at that point.
I mean, you can argue that Vettori's a little bit gassed towards the end of the Adesanya fight, though.
Yeah, 5 rounds.
Yeah, he definitely was. Yeah,
True.
Round 5, you're definitely right.
True, but what
we don't really know with Costa, and it's not his fault either, is it? It's not his fault that he's been knocking people out in the first round. Like, it's not. We haven't.
I mean, it is.
It is his fault.
Nobody else is doing it. It's definitely him doing it. So it is his fault.
Not my fault.
It is directly his fault. But I mean, like you say, you can't sort of discount someone's gas tank until they've had a chance. So be interesting to see if this one does go the distance. How Costa.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. It's a fair point.
At least you got one fair point in during the course of the podcast, Sam. So welcome.
It's always important. Fairs.
Let's talk odds as well, because we're talking about going the distance. 11 to 10, it goes the distance in this one. 8 to 11, that it doesn't. For me, given Vettori's record, 9 out of 11 fights go the distance. I think you'd be silly not to take double your money on this going the distance, even just as a bit of a slip cover, if you like. Just take it on, just because I think if it goes the distance again with Vettori, you're going to kick yourself after that you didn't double your money just for the sake of 11 to 10, aren't you?
Yeah, but if you look at Costa's as well, what's Costa's?
Like I say,
the spectrum, aren't they?
Yeah, but it's not
literally the other end of the spectrum. So a wise man would go in the middle and say it's going to end in round 4 or 5, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
I've got Costa via TKO around that time.
Costa TKO round 4, round 5. I suppose you'd get your value there, but Adam, you make a good point. 9 out of 11 is huge. Like it's interesting to see. But how many times has Costa done 5 rounds?
He's never done 5 rounds.
So-
Obviously, he was scheduled 5 rounds with Izzy, but he only made it to 2. And then all the others have been 3 rounds scheduled. So he hasn't had the chance to go 5 rounds. Well, he has, and he got slaps. But aside from that,
it wasn't his fault. That one wasn't his fault.
Izzy literally didn't give him a chance to go 5 rounds, is what I'm saying.
And it humped him when he finished with it. But,
George,
no,
Costa TKO is 9-4 at the minute. Good value.
Yeah, I've got that.
You like that?
I've got that. Yeah.
I think instead of going for the 5 rounds, like I said earlier, that's probably the flip side bet for me. The W for Costa, but he's going to finish him.
That's his method of victory in it. Like if Costa's going to win, he's going to win by KO TKO. And I think on the
You don't know though,
Vettori's,
because
yeah.
if Vettori's chin holds up, then Costa outstrikes him. And like I said, I know Vettori's a wrestler and he has got wrestling credentials, but he didn't look like he was that strong against Izzy.
Yeah.
So you never know. Costa could win a decision victory if both of those factors play. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I guess one of the things he landed 4 takedowns against Izzy. Vettori did, obviously. Landed 4 takedowns, but never really progressed the position at any point and didn't really do too much damage. And so he
didn't look strong against Izzy. He didn't look strong against Izzy.
I think that's the point, is that he lost 50-45 and he still landed 4 takedowns. So the takedowns that he did land weren't really that significant. So he also, if he is going to rely on his takedowns, bear in mind, he landed 11 takedowns in his first 9 UFC fights and he's landed 15 in his last 2. So at some point there's been a switch flipped. He said, right, I'm going to lean on the wrestling more than he has previously. But I just think he has to, in this one, when he gets Costa on the ground, he has to do some damage. He has to try and get a submission.
Yeah, hold him there for a bit at least, maybe.
Yeah, and I think if he can do that in the first couple of rounds, Costa will lose a lot of that explosive power, and that opens up a decision victory. 7-4 Vettori decision. So again, pretty good value. And I think that's his most likely. I can see the Marvin decision more than I can see on Marvin KO or submission. So
yeah,
if you're going to take on Marvin, I would say do it by decision. And if you're going to take on Costa, then we all agree, don't we? KO TKO at 9-4.
TKO. It's going to be something stupid like a Vettori heel lock.
That
is MMA, isn't it? That is MMA.
That's UFC, exactly. That's why we fucking tune in every week.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Go on.
If I could make one final plea for Marvin Vettori as take him on the favourite. He's 4-6 favourite outright if you just want to bet on him to win. Every UFC fight that Marvin Vettori has gone off as favourite, he's won. So to me, that gives me a lot of confidence that the bookies are seeing him as the 4-6 favourite here, Costa at 6-5 to go with the bookies on this one, because they haven't been wrong on Vettori yet.
Yeah, I've got to agree with the bookies. I think obviously I can see Costa winning, but I don't think he will win. And
okay, hands up. Costa decision at 9-4. Who's having it? We'll have it put into the spreadsheet. Sam,
hands,
George.
So
Costa decision.
I'm going.
Decision for you?
Costa TKO.
No.
Costa
Right,
Costa TKO.
I'm going Marvin Vettori by decision at 7-4. Ross.
Well, if I was actually putting a bet on for this, it'd be part of my accumulator, and I'd just put Vettori to win. But if it was just a single bet and I want to have some fun, I'm going to say Vettori round 4 TKO.
Okay, I'll let you off with the TKO as a free, because you don't have to put the bet up if you don't want. I'm putting this bet up. This is my selection for this week, is Marvin Vettori by decision 7-4. That's the one I'm going for this week. We'll touch on last week, Ross, because let's be honest, it didn't go great for us, did it?
Almost did.
I mean, it was close, but yeah, we'll touch on that in a minute. My other bet is the fight to go the distance in this one. Obviously, if I'm going with Marvin by decision, it makes sense to try and double up on that 11-10 that I mentioned earlier. Any other bets from you chaps for this one before we move on?
Yeah,
not for this fight. I've got some on the card, but not this fight.
Get Vettori heel lock round 1 odds for me.
Costa round 1's pretty good, to be fair.
Costa round
2.
Yeah, 11-2, Costa round 1. If you think Costa round 2, 9-1, the difference between round 1, 11-2, 9-1.
That's all right. That's pretty good. 9-1 round 2, Costa. Yeah. That's pretty good. That.
Yeah,
the odds speak to it though. The odds speak to the later it goes.
Costa round 1 or 2. Costa round 1 or 2 is a decent bet to put a 5 on, I'd say.
Yeah, round 1 a lot of the time it's sort of a feeling out process, isn't it, with majority of fights. So 9-1 round 2 might be worth a 5 of
that. Interesting to hear, Ross. You mentioned that because I'm staying away from the accumulators this week. Again, we'll touch on that why in a second, but I want to keep some money in the bank for 267, 268. You're stepping up with an accumulator for us this week, aren't you?
I am, mate. Yeah, let me chuck one on. You want it?
Yeah, I want it, mate. You chuck it on, and I'll price it up quickly.
Give it to us.
Right. So I've got Vettori to win. These are just like outright wins, no method.
Sure.
So I've got Vettori to win. Worthy is fighting. He's a little beast. He's fighting Herbert. I'm not too sure. I've not seen much of Herbert, but
is that his first name or his second name?
It's Jai Herbert.
Jai Herbert, great name. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on him.
That is a great name, but he doesn't get my vote. I think Worthy will beat him.
You think 6-4, great value for Karma Worthy to beat Jai Herbert there.
Yeah, I think Worthy will take it, and I've got Tabitha Ricci to beat Maria Oliveira.
Nice, 2-5
in the women's. And then we've got, here's some names for you. Nikolai Negumeran, probably nothing like that, to beat Ike Villanueva.
It's Isaac Villanueva, but
Villanueva.
So you gone for Nikolai?
Yeah, Nikolai will take that, I think, and that's my 4.
Nikolai.
4 fold. That's 7.43 to 1, Ross. So £10 returns you £84.26 on that. So nice little bet just to run it back. It's Vettori to win, Karma Worthy to win, Tabitha Ricci to win, and Nikolai Nagamarino to win as well. 7.43 to 1. Remember,
good job on the name there. Good job.
Thanks. I'm pretty sure I butchered it, but I just went through it quickly, so it sounded like I knew what I was doing. I just went straight through it and butchered it.
Yeah, weren't was the mind, mate. So
yeah, fair enough. So yeah, remember, please gamble responsibly. Don't bet what you can't afford to lose. We're not big bettors here. We're just doing it for fun. So yeah, gamble responsibly. Just quickly, we'll touch on last week's bets as well, Ross, because it could have gone better and it could have gone worse. I'll run you through mine first if you want, because I had Jim Miller to win via submission, and we touched on this earlier in the show. Maybe we were trying to be a bit too specific here because we got 9-4 via 9-2 via submission. We could have got 9-4 just inside the distance, and would have covered off the KO anyway, and we still would have made 2.5 times on.
Yeah.
So maybe we were a bit too specific with that one. So that's £10 down for me. That one. I also had a 5-fold, which was let down by Aspen Ladd at the top of the card. Just touching on Aspen Ladd, we'd be remiss if we didn't touch on the MMA Twitter topic of the week, which was Aspen Ladd's coach in the corner between rounds. Has anyone seen it? Has anyone got a strong opinion on whether he was too far or not? So no one
seemed like it. No,
seems like no one's got a strong opinion. I'm looking at an empty chair where Sam is sat. Hardy, have you seen the video first of all?
No, I haven't. That's why I haven't answered.
Okay, fine. Well, basically, she didn't perform. Like she was very sluggish in the first 3.5 rounds. And he was kind of rightly pointing out, like, you've got to throw punches in bunches. Like, she was throwing jab, but she wasn't throwing anything behind it. And she was just kind of coasting away from the fact, but she was losing every round. Like, Dumont was just picking her off from range. And yeah, he got a bit aggressive towards the 4th and 5th round. He just said, please tell me, like, what the fuck you are doing. Like, you're not listening to me. Like, you've got to throw punches in bunches. And just get a bit aggressive. And then it also gets a bit weird because Ladd and a coach are also dating, so it's part coach-fighter relationship, part boyfriend girlfriend relationship. It always makes it a bit different. But yeah, MMA Twitter was all over it. Yeah, MMA Twitter was all over it as like she's a professional fighter. She knows what she's doing. And then other people are like, do you know what I mean? Like none of these people have clearly ever like had a coach in their life for anything.
Yeah, you could say that, but you also say he's a professional coach. He knows what he's doing. So
I mean, if none of you have got a strong opinion, we'll be like, anyway, she was disappointing, and yeah, she lost a decision to Norma Dumont. So that let down 2 of my accumulators that I had in a ring. The only thing that saved my night, thankfully, Manon Farrow, Jim Miller, and Cornelossi treble. Farrow, it was impressive. Miller, we talked about in terms of getting the knockout. Maybe we were a bit too specific on that one. But that 10 units on that returned me 33.70, which gave me a slim £3.70 profit for the night. So
easy money.
Still profit, though. Still profit, boy.
Profit is profit. And I don't mean to brag. Since the start of the show, that takes me to an overall profit of £85.10, which gives me a nice bit of kitty to attack some very bulky cards at 267 and 268 with many 3, 4, 5 folds. So I'm excited for that. Ross, your bet.
Yeah, Ross, how much have you got saved up?
Ross, your one bet from this week, if I'm not mistaken, was Aspen Ladd, Jim Miller, and Adriolowski to win.
Farrow as well.
Oh, sorry, I'm Farrow. So yeah, 3 out of 4, not bad.
3 out of 4. That's, I mean, we almost got it but Aspen Ladd just didn't get it done. I almost put Dumont on as well. I almost went for a.
Shoulda, coulda.
We didn't. Yeah,
exactly. We're back to the way we were last week. If my auntie had wheels.
Yeah.
But overall, on the Excel sheet, it takes you back to 0. I'm not going to lie to you. It could be worse. You could be in the minus.
Could be worse.
But you are back to 0. So I'm hoping for your sake that this 7.43 accumulator pays off.
That's why we've put it on there. Yeah, we need to get in the plus. So that's why I've chucked it on.
And finally, George Hardy, you only gave us one bet last week. Is Ladd, Miller, Arlovski treble, which obviously for the same reason lost. That puts you on -10, but you've only given us one bet in the show so far. So hopefully, again, this week you can get a couple on the board and we'll all have something to play with for next week. Sam, I'll add you to the Excel sheet. It gives me great pleasure to add another person to this Excel sheet. So, yeah.
I think
Nothing but profit.
I think Costa round 2 is a decent one. And listen, if I do that, 50 quid returns on a fiver. Can't really go wrong there.
Yeah, nice. Back yourself then.
I'll
Put
put
your
it
money
in
where your mouth is,
now.
George.
That's what I did, Sam. I just put my mouth on money.
The great thing about the spreadsheet as well, George, is we're doing it in units. It's 10 units per bet. So if it comes in, you'll be right quids in ahead of 267, 268, and you won't be
42, right?
If it doesn't. Right, lads, I'm looking forward to this because Ross threw something in our group chat earlier in the week, which was like a combination picture of various fighters. Okay, who's got the best boxing? Who's got the best kicks? Who's got the best jiu-jitsu? And it like all brings together to make like the dream fighter. So obviously last week we chatted about our pound for pound. So I thought it'd be fun this week if we had our own go at building the Octagon odds dream fighter. And I believe we've got 12 categories to run through.
Not enough categories.
I mean, if you are still listening, good luck, because this could get very argumentative and very long. We're going to just go straight into it, though, and we're going to start with boxing. So if you could pick anyone's boxing in the UFC, Sam Mansfield, who are you picking and why?
Boxing
with the hands.
What's that?
As in
What's
not,
that? Is that
not
another
kickboxing?
sport?
Not kickboxing.
I only know MMA.
It could have been kickboxing.
So boxing, if we're going off raw boxing, see, you could sort of cater for striking or boxing. And in my opinion, just because someone can leg kick as well doesn't make them a bad boxer. Pound for pound, who would I want to come up against least as a boxer would probably be Izzy. Even though he's not traditionally known as a boxer, his probably boxing, his striking is ridiculous.
Counter striking is next level. Like he's the best striker.
No one in my stratosphere beats him striking wise, and probably for that reason I'd have him as the best boxer.
Ross, boxing. We've got one vote for Israel Adesanya so far. What have you got?
Yeah, I've got to go with the Diamond, Dustin Poirier. I think there's just straight up boxing. There is just no one. Him and Max Holloway are the two for me, but Poirier obviously beat him. I think in just a boxing fight, he could probably beat anyone pound for pound. Well, that's the whole point of this, obviously. But yeah, I just can't root against Poirier when it comes to boxing. He's just so on the moving forward while he's advancing. He can strike while he's moving back. He throws like 9-10 piece combo sometimes as he's moving forward. Just everything's so sharp, so powerful, so accurate, which is the main thing. Timing, everything's dialed in, so no one comes above DP for me.
So I've got a question for you. How are you, in terms of your point, Ross? How are you picturing this? Are you picturing this as they've got boxing gloves on, they're in a boxing ring, they're having a 12-round boxing fight? Or are you picturing this as the two fighters, MMA gloves, they're just restricted to just boxing? Because if you see it that way, in my eyes, you've got a much more different approach to the fight. But if we're talking...
I'll tell you how I'm picturing it. I'm picturing it as a robot that we're building, we're programming it. All right, whose boxing are we taking? Right, anyone in the UFC, if we were going to install it into this computer man,
okay,
whose boxing would I take? Regardless of weight, regardless of division, like if I wanted their technique, their power, whatever, like whose boxing would you take? I'm guessing you probably stick by what you said, Dustin. Yeah, and would that be the same for you, Sam?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously, Adesanya is the least robotic about, but I think he's the best.
Hardy, boxing, who have you got?
So, the guy that I'm going to go for, you probably already know who it is. Clean, crisp striking, moving forward. Unbelievable counter-striking, quick, fast, accurate, powerful. So, Ben Askren is my pick.
Yes.
Obviously.
That was pick number 2.
No, so Dustin Poirier, I have to agree with Ross. I have to back Ross's vote up on that. I think the cleanest, most efficient boxer, probably one of the most accurate boxers, can strike forward, can strike backwards, can counter-strike, unbelievable guard, great head movement, nothing not to like about Poirier's boxing.
I'll be honest. I had Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier written down, so I think that pretty much settles it unanimously that in our combined fighter robot that we're now building, that we're going to take Dustin Poirier's boxing.
Yeah.
Right, moving on. Yeah. Kicking.
Fucking Cristiano Ronaldo
That'd be Dustin Poirier.
You meant
there's a celebration with the arm and everything after it.
Oh man, imagine next fight he just sees but goes kaboom. Kaboom. Anyway,
kicking wise, Sam, you already mentioned Adesanya's kicks. That's who I had down. When I was trying to who's got the best kicks in the UFC, that was the name that kept coming to my mind, was Starbender. Because he's just got such a different variety of kicks. Leg kicks, head kicks.
Ross has got one
again.
No, he's not.
No, he's not. But again,
he was on the shortlist though. 2 right Wonder Boys on the shortlist.
I thought you'd pick.
It's in my opinion, it's up to interpretation how you pick it. You pick what is the best leg kick, most damaging leg kick in a fight I've seen, or is it who's got the most general leg kicks? Probably the second, to be fair. But I've gone for a bit of a rogue one.
Whichever you think is more important.
I've gone for a bit of a rogue one. I've got a bit of a rogue one. Volkanovski. I think his leg kicks are mean.
Yeah, they are.
And what he did to Max was just like it swayed. It didn't really. And I think leg kicks like that are huge nowadays.
Yeah, man. Although this isn't who's got the best leg kicks. Like, could you see Volkanovski throwing a wheel kick? Nah.
No.
No, you're right. Obviously,
or a hook kick or anything other than a leg kick, really. Maybe a body kick. Maybe roundhouse to the body. So for mine, I've gone with Edson Barboza. I think when you look at kicks,
I knew you'd go for
no one's got kicks like him.
No one got kicks like him.
Nah, he's not. He doesn't have the wheel kicks that Barboza has, and like just the
Yeah, but Barboza's
I actually
question mark kick of Adesanya, so it goes both ways.
Yeah, the question mark kick is a joke. That's what I would have gone with Izzy for second, to be fair. It's a joke. But Barboza's a great shot. All of his finishes with kicks are just like speak for themselves, don't they?
He's got. I'm pretty sure he's got like 2 or 3 wheel kick knockouts. I'm pretty sure he's got a hook kick. Some of his leg kicks are like awfully good. I think awfully. If you're looking at like kickboxing, Izzy is better, but just kicks, that's just my choice. Barboza.
Yeah, I think it's a really good shot.
It's a good choice, and Hardy thinks you're wrong, but
Hardy thinks you're wrong.
No, it's wrong.
So let's introduce Hardy.
What's the right answer, George? Give us the right answer.
Ben Askren.
Come on.
Adesanya. It's still Adesanya all day.
Yeah.
Nobody's got the arsenal that man's got. Barboza might have stronger kicks, more powerful kicks, but he's not. They're not as technical and they're not as good. Is he throwing like every kick you can imagine? Body kicks, teep kicks, leg kicks, oblique kicks, head kicks, question mark kicks, spinning kicks. Do you know what I mean? It's everything you could possibly want from a fighter. That well, if you're a kickboxer, that's why his kickboxing record's so good.
I think again on majority rule, Adesanya is going to have to take this one. So we'll stick him in for kicking, and we'll move on to the third category we've got, which is wrestling. Now there are a lot of contenders in the UFC at the
solid, so hard.
Really? Do you
how
think
current are we being? How current are we being active
fighters?
I think you can't have Khabib. Khabib's the right answer. But...
Khabib.
Yeah, it would be.
You can't have Khabib or Jones.
No, it would be Khabib, but now it's Usman.
Yeah, of course it'd be Khabib.
That does change things.
Difficult, isn't it? Because there's so many contenders.
Yeah, interested to hear yours, Ross.
I've got 2 which I couldn't. No, I know my answer, but I want to give you my honourable mention. My honourable mention, and I'm gonna do the podcast prior to this a bit of justice. Get this, Shevchenko. Think about her ground game. Think about her clinch
as well.
Her clinch, her takedown. Whenever she gets in the clinch, she takes them down if that's what she wants to do every time. Once she gets them down, she controls them for as long as she wants. She's so much stronger than every opponent she fights. But that was my honorable mention. My actual answer was Makhachev.
See, I think your honourable mention's better than your suggestion. I also had Makhachev. I've also got Makhachev on my list, though. I'm not lying. I couldn't narrow it down, but I've got Islam on there as well. Just going to say.
But I quite like the sound of Shevchenko as well, because I feel like I needed to get her in on the list somewhere, and I think wrestling was a good place to get her. So I'd be happy with either of them too.
Okay, like I said, I've got Islam as one of mine. Hardy, I know you might not necessarily agree with that one, so I'm interested to hear who you've got.
You said Usman, didn't you? George?
Not saying anything at the minute because he's on mute.
Sorry, I was muted. I'm not even going to get into the Islam thing because we've been through it. I feel about it.
We've already been through it.
It's Usman, proven. Usman or Covington, funnily enough.
Covington was on my short list.
I was literally that would be on my list as well.
Yeah, one of those.
I'd put Covington above Usman, to be honest. I think like
a lot of rogue Ross opinion.
Yeah, because a lot of what
we start calling you rogue.
Rogue Ross.
A lot of what we've seen from Usman is like pressure wrestling, like leaning on. Like look what he did to Woodley. Yeah, he out wrestled him, but he just leant on him. Look what he did to Masvidal. He just leant on him. Like how much have we actually seen Usman on the ground wrestling? Do you know what I mean?
Not much.
Whereas Colby, we've seen a lot from Colby.
Do you know why we've not really seen that with Usman? He's got a 100% takedown defense record in the UFC.
Yeah.
I think 100%. That's significant. We've got takedown defense on our list as well. But I don't know how
100%.
100%.
Yeah, 100%.
That's
how many people tried to
against the best in the world. The best in the world, and he's got 100%.
So I don't know how
the type of guy that you're not going to initiate wrestling with Usman, are you?
No,
Like, so
definitely not.
how many attempts have actually been thrown at him? Like, yeah, fair, 100% is 100%. There's no shade in that. But how many attempts have been thrown at him?
That goes back to the fact that he's so good at wrestling. Nobody wants to wrestle with him.
Yeah, innit? But that also goes back to my point where
I'm going to say in order to make the official UFC record list for takedown defense, you have to have had minimum 5 UFC fights and minimum 20 takedowns attempted. So he's stuffed at least 20 out of 20 takedowns in the UFC.
Yeah, fair. But that's a different aspect that we've got takedown defense in it. So
yeah,
maybe we shouldn't let that point.
So we're talking really about offensive wrestling. So who's got the best offensive wrestling? I guess
that's easy. Ben Askren.
Yeah, but that's actually probably like reasonable.
In one,
that's actually not that bad a shout.
Exactly. I think Miocic was good. Going forward, like taking down. I think Covington's maybe going forward.
What about
Derek Lewis?
Marab Dvalishvili.
Derek Lewis, yeah.
Marab Dvalishvili.
Yeah, that's fair. I can.
Yeah.
Not proven enough.
Again, I won't put him
in
up
terms
there.
But he mauls people. Do you know what I mean? He ragdolls people. Right? He's got a ridiculous number of UFC takedowns. There's like 39 in his last 2 fights or something. The last 2 or 3 fights. Like he ragdolls people. Just an option.
It's similar to like Chimaev. What's he called? The Russian with the mad lip. He's got the cut on his lip. He talks like this, brother.
That narrows it down, Ross. Thanks.
Chimaev.
Wait, did.
Yeah,
that's Chimaev. You said Chimaev.
Yeah, and then I convinced myself I was wrong, but that's sort of the same as him with Dvalishvili, isn't it? He's ragdolls people, but yet to prove. And I know, to be fair, you could say that about Makhachev. To be fair, but
we've got to make a decision here because we can't have Khabib. So who are we having for offensive?
What's everyone's votes then?
Can't have GSP. You've got to go with Usman. Isn't he? Not only is he pound for pound, but the one thing that the pound for pound is known for is his wrestling, and it's proven in stats. So you're a silly man to think that it can't be Usman.
Yeah,
I'm happy to put Usman in.
Then.
We're not.
Okay,
Our
Usman.
wrestling's going to be pretty good from this robotic fight if we've got Usman in. So pretty happy with that. We've got 4 minutes until we're going to go to another short break. So I don't know if we can do jiu-jitsu in 4 minutes because
let's go for a break right now.
Okay, I like that. Let's go for a break right now.
Treat the listeners to a break. You know what? You can have a break early.
Yeah.
Right,
have one.
We're going for a break. All right, guys. We'll be back after the break.
Right, part 3. We're going to continue running through our anatomy of a fighter. We've nailed 3 positions so far. We've taken Dustin Poirier's boxing. We're taking Israel Adesanya's kicks, and we're taking Kamaru Usman's wrestling. I know we want to run through this quickly because 2 of our quartet have got their respective teams in Champions League action tonight. So next on the list, not going to be an easy one, I'm afraid, lads. It's jiu-jitsu. Who's out of the UFC? Who's jiu-jitsu are we taking?
Honestly, mate, I think it is an easy one. Charles Oliveira. I just don't. There's a lot of contenders, obviously, but he's got the most submissions ever in the UFC, and it just speaks for himself when you see him. He's formidable on the ground. Nobody wants to be there with him.
Easy one.
I think it is an easy one, to be honest.
Any other advances, I guess, on Charles Oliveira?
I've got others, but.
I mean, there's people in there, but the way that he's ground his way up back to the top from where he was, and that's on the basis of his jiu-jitsu, I think speaks for itself. So I don't
argue it's on the basis of him adding striking to his game because he's always had the jiu-jitsu.
That's why I'm saying that's his base.
Yeah.
His base has been that's what's got him through.
Yeah, he's evolved his striking.
Yeah.
Go on then, George.
Other notable ones up there. Damien Maia,
maybe.
Brian Ortega's up there.
But again, you've got to think about what that.
You know who's jiu-jitsu actually? It's a bit of a rogue shout maybe because he doesn't have that many submission wins in the UFC. But Michael Chiesa, I just really enjoy watching him on the ground. I mean, he's very fluid and
he's good on the ground.
Yeah, I like watching him on the ground. It was one of the. I remember watching one of his fights. Can't remember which one now, and just sort of he was on the ground pretty much for the whole 15 minutes, and it was so interesting, like how fluid he was and the way he sets things up and sets traps. But I know that, statistically, he's nowhere near Charles. Like you say, Ross.
No.
14 submission wins for Charles Oliveira.
Yeah.
The next nearest is 11. So
who's on 11?
Damian Maia.
Oh, is
the
it?
other ones
Yeah,
up there: Jim Miller,
5.
10, Nate Diaz, 9.
Yeah, Nate's up there. Do you know who is up there with? Maybe not now, but like a couple of years ago, Tony Ferguson. His ground game was so good, and even though he got 3 out of 3 rounds beat against Oliveira, if we're putting Oliveira first, like best jiu-jitsu, and the majority of that fight against Tony was on the ground, Tony's defense was still class. Like, even though he did get well and truly beaten, the fact that he defended on the ground for 3 rounds against Oliveira, he held his own. Like, obviously, he was in a defensive position.
Didn't he pretty much break his arm in an armbar at one point?
Yeah,
well?
my brother had a bet. I think he would have got 200 quid or something if Tony tapped out there. And,
I remember that.
His arm was pointing the other way, wasn't it? And he was just not tapping.
Yeah. But yeah, I think Charles is the shout, really.
I think there's plenty of categories a bit further down this list where Tony Ferguson might be perfect. But yeah, unless George, you've got a suggestion above Charles Oliveira, I think we can pretty much lock him in, can't we?
I think we can lock him in pretty easily.
Yeah. Now, Will, Charles Oliveira, that's whose jiu-jitsu we're taking. And that brings us on to our next one. And there was only one person on my list for this one, I'll be honest, lads, and it's knockout power.
Yeah.
I think you know
Francis Ngannou. That's all. Like, it's factual. Hardest punch in the world ever recorded.
That's right, but it's only because he's the heaviest. Like, if we're going pound for pound, who else is up there with mad power? Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what I saw? I saw in an
Costa,
interview.
yeah, nice.
I saw in an interview with Usman and Rose that they were saying. I'm pretty sure they were saying that Gaethje pound for pound hits like ridiculous. Like,
people say that as well. Actually,
as well.
I'm pretty sure Tony Ferguson said that about Gaethje as well. That he's the hardest. He's ever been there with.
But
Poirier definitely as well.
Yeah,
Poirier's fought both of them. He's fought Gaethje and McGregor. So McGregor hits harder.
Yeah, he did say that.
Yeah, but he was McGregor's.
Is McGregor's power or is McGregor's like timing and accuracy?
I
think that equates to power.
Yeah, it does.
Equate to power.
But no, we've got to put on Ngannou. There's no two ways about it.
Plenty's.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, Francis Ngannou knockout power.
Yeah.
I think. Don't think there's any. If we're putting together this perfect robot, with all due respect to Dustin, I think I'd rather have Francis's power.
I'm gonna have nightmares of this robot. Me.
By the way, we've not had it. Are we just having? We can't have like the same person twice. Should we say that?
Interesting you say that, because the next one is takedown defense, and obviously we talked about Usman's insane 100%.
Yeah, I don't think we should. I think we should not have the same. We can only have the same person.
Yeah, I'm actually. Do you know who else? And depends whether we had this argument last week about whether he's in the UFC. Another one, I think John Jones has got like 95 or 96% takedown. Like, when do you ever see John Jones get taken down?
He's not a fighter.
Just Gustafsson, weren't it? He's the first one. He took him down, like. And then he stuffed like all the Johns, didn't he? Which was mad.
He's not a fighter, says George.
He's not a fighter. He's not an active fighter.
We had this argument on last week's show, I'm afraid.
He's not right.
He's not
right.
Jones in contention for this conversation.
Yeah.
I can run you through some of the stats if you want to tell you who else is up there with them. John Jones, 95% takedown defense. John Jones. Eddie Wineland, 93.3% takedown defense. Jimmy Rivera, 92.6. Renan Barao, 92.5. Other notable names up there. Bilal Muhammad, above 90%. Piotr Jan, 90%. Alexander Rakic, 90%. Jeff Neal, 90%. Any of those stand out to you as
none of them are my choice. No.
Go on, give me a choice.
There's two that shine in this category for me. The one that didn't make it is Max Holloway, and the guy that made it is Robert Whittaker.
Yeah, Whittaker. That was my suggestion.
Yeah.
Not just from this, but this is where like my fascination with Whittaker's takedown defense came the 2 fights with Yoel Romero. Obviously, he's a silver medalist wrestler, and he just could not take Bobby Knuckles down. He just tried, and that first fight, he tried, and he just couldn't do it. And Whittaker's shown it so many times that he can do that, and he does it against everyone. So does Max, but I just think Whittaker deserves that slot.
Max's takedown defense comes with pressure a lot of the time as well, doesn't it? Like you're almost so under pressure from his striking that.
Yeah.
The thing that now we've decided that we're not putting, has anyone got Whittaker in for any of the other attributes further down the list? Because I've actually got him in for another one further down the list.
I had Usman again, but I've been ruled over and can't say that now. So if it wasn't Usman, it'd probably be Whittaker as well. Can't see.
I'll show my cards on Rob Whittaker here. I had Rob Whittaker down as fight IQ. Yeah, because I think he's excellent fight IQ. Everyone that goes in the octagon with him, Darren Till, etc., they all say it's a chess match, like with his striking, his feints and the way, as Ross said, he manages like takedowns against the likes of Yoel Romero. That I had him in there as fight IQ because when I was looking at him, the first name that came to mind was Bobby Knuckles. Has got a great fight IQ.
Yeah,
but I'd happily put him in takedown defense as well, though. But I just wanted to make that point that I've also got Bobby Knuckles in fight IQ. So.
Yeah. George, have you got takedown D?
Tony.
Bobby Knuckles.
Yeah.
Bobby Knuckles. Tony. What about you, Sam? Any other?
Tony? It's not really. No, not really takedown defense. Tony really is. It's more like being able to defend on his back once he's down.
Yeah, he's fucking sick off his back.
Yeah. But no,
not sick enough.
No.
Not sick enough. Not recently, anyway. But no, Bobby Knuckles.
So that's cemented, I think, innit?
Bobby Knuckles.
Takedown D.
George, are you having spoilers on the Champions League? Was it no spoilers?
I'm watching it right now, and I did celebrate silently. If that's what you're asking.
Okay. Congrats. What was it from? Was it from a corner?
Christensen scored a killer half volley from just a Aspilicueta cross into the box.
And whilst Chelsea
that's Christensen's first goal. That's Christensen's first goal for Chelsea. That though.
And whilst Chelsea going 1-0 up, Ronaldo's tried to run too fast and falling over while sprinting.
So it's not going great in the football.
No, to be fair, he's been pushed. But anyway, back to the fights. What have we got next?
We've got Bobby Knuckles in his takedown defense then. So that rules him out of any of the other ones. So next on our list is cardio. Now there's obviously a few notable options here. So I'll go to you, Sam, first this time. Who have you got in there for cardio?
Max. The blessed Max.
Yeah, I've got Max too.
Got it.
So bad.
Got to. I think that's now. That guy has, like, for example, Ortega, most strikes. I don't know whether they got beat actually, but at one point he had most strikes in UFC in one UFC fight, and by the end of it, he probably could have done that again. To be fair,
he did do it again against Calvin Cater.
Yeah,
I'm talking about the same night, but he probably
broke his own record.
Is that what he did? Yeah, mental. Yeah,
broke his own record. Yeah,
that's that Hawaiian cardio. That.
Who've you got, Adam?
I had Max in there as well. There was a few, obviously the Diaz brothers jumped straight to mind. Tony Ferguson's got unbelievable cardio.
Yeah, maybe better than Max, but I'd put him somewhere else.
Yeah, you're right, actually.
Usman has great cardio again.
Oh, and Colby, actually. Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I'm sticking with Max.
Yeah, Kobe has got excellent cardio, hasn't he?
Could you not say John Jones has good cardio?
Yeah, but he's also not a fighter.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he's got very good cardio, but he's not included in the list, unfortunately.
All that running away from.
Cosmo Farah, but he's not a fighter.
He's not on the list. You're not on the list.
all that running away from USADA officers has served him quite well. Right, cardio. We'll put Max Holloway in because we don't have him in elsewhere. And speaking of the Diaz brothers, we might not have put them in for cardio, but next on the list is chin. So whose chin are we taking?
Gastelum or Ortega?
Gastelum is an excellent shout.
Gastelum is a shout.
I've got Tony for that. Tony Ferguson. After what Gaethje did to him, man. Mate, with Gaethje, people last 2-3 of them big shots that Gaethje puts out. Tony lasted 4.5 rounds of it. I just don't think there's any dispute in that. In my eyes, Tony has got the best chin in the world.
So Ross says there's no
Granite.
disputing that Tony
I don't
Ferguson
think
has
there
got
is.
the best.
There's a lot of
Is
top
anyone going to
contenders, but-
dispute it?
Yeah, well, I
Sam-
already gave you my two.
Okay, one at a time.
I personally think, who did I have in mind? I've completely gone blank. Oh yeah, that's it. Ortega. The fights with Max, just show you he didn't even get knocked out by Max. I know Max is the touch and go, not really knockout power, but at the same time, anybody who's sort of half human couldn't take that amount of can't take them digs. Nobody. But yeah, was literally a punching bag all night and didn't go down. So that's what it was. I think personally, Ortega.
George
Thing is, though,
Harvey?
he did the same to Cater, didn't he? And so it's like you said, it's sort of like touch him up and tire him out. And it's not full. It's not
I've got
like
a good
Nick
one.
Diaz, and it's like, right, go on then.
I've got a good rogue one that none of you will have thought of.
Ben Askren.
Yeah, Ben Askren. I could have said Ben Askren again.
Yo Romero, that is a big shout.
Because he's the only guy that I've seen that get hit with head kicks and leg kicks and bombs, and his head doesn't even move.
Yeah, but it can't move
because it can't.
Yeah,
move.
no.
Exactly.
His traps take up 50% of his body.
His chin is embedded into his traps, so it's like a mega chin.
Like the way I know you know this, but the way you get knocked out is from your brain rocking, and that's why they call the chin the button. Because when you get on the chin, your head whips, but his traps are so enormous, his head can't whip. So it's a good shout. To be fair. But he's not actually in the UFC anymore.
No, you're right. But are we doing UFC or
we didn't say UFC.
We didn't.
Oh,
We
just said fight.
He's not on the list.
Yeah, we just said
he could be on the list.
So, he could be on the list. Still an active fight. I don't think he's ever been knocked out in his career, has he? All of his losses have been.
He did. He got TKO'd once.
Rafael Cavalcanti.
It could be.
Well, that's what it says on his record. That's what it says on his record. So I'm hoping.
I remember him getting dropped. He got dropped against Costa as well.
Yeah, but he bounced right back up and then dropped Costa.
Yeah, he did.
Later, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Mad.
To take it back to the robot analogy, because you made it physical with Romero's stature. If I was building this robot, would I rather have Max Holloway's chin or would I rather have Yoel Romero's chin? Personally, I think I'd probably rather have Yoel Romero's.
Yeah, because you've got inbuilt protection.
Yeah.
Can we give the robot traps?
Yeah, sure.
Can we have a trap section?
In it, pound for pound traps is defo Romero.
Costa's got some mean traps as well.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
Battle of the Trap Masters.
Right, go on then. Who we put in cardio? My vote's Tony. Not cardio, sorry. Chin. My vote's Tony.
I think Tony as well, to be honest. That's what I had written down.
Sure, I can't really be upset with that.
You can't argue with that, but you know that when he fought, I can't remember who he fought, when he shook off.
That was Gaethje.
Yeah, that's mental. Person who can stand up.
Thing is, though, he would have kept going. It was Herb that stepped in. Tony would have kept going.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was bad that when you saw him shake his head. Equilibrium were gone, weren't it? Right, so
next
Tony then.
Yeah, Tony's locked in for chin. Next on the list is fight IQ, which we touched on already.
Can I just get in for cardio? Can we get N'Golo Kante in there? Just I know he's not a fighter, but we mentioned John Jones a few times.
Nah, Ben Askren.
Yeah, Ben Askren. Yeah.
Anyway,
tied to a massive cardio
IQ.
for me.
Yes.
Right, move on.
Fight IQ. I made my pitch before for Robert Whittaker, but I was outvoted on takedown defense, so I can't have Bobby Knuckles on this one. So someone else give us your suggestions.
Yeah, I've got two shouts once again. I've got two for quite a few, but I've got Stipe or Rose for fight IQ.
Interesting. Tell me why. Why Stipe? Start with that one.
I think Stipe mainly is due to the DC trilogy. Was it the second one where he, I think after the third round or something, came out with them body hooks and just absolutely shut DC down. Like that was such a good change in his game plan. But obviously, it wasn't just that. Like, I feel like every time you watch Stipe, he knows exactly what he needs to do, and he goes out and does it every time. Obviously, well, first fight against Ngannou, that is how you have to fight Ngannou, and that's exactly what he did. And he stopped the hype train, didn't he? Obviously, the second one didn't really go as planned, but Ngannou evolved big time, scared the world. But I think Rose is the same. I think she's just so calm and collective, and she can just figure out what needs to be doing on the spot. We've seen it time and time again. Both fights with Joanna. Andrade obviously dropped her on her head and beat her, and then the next fight they had, Rose came out and just did what Rose does and just whooped her. Whaley just shocked the world with that Whaley head kick. Yeah, I just think she knows exactly what needs to be done every second of the fight. She knows where she needs to be. She knows where her opponent is gonna be. So yeah, it's Stipe or Rose for me. So let's see what you boys say.
I've got a bit of a rogue one. I think due to the fact his journey to the top, who he's beat and how he's beat them. I'm going with Volkanovski. I think the way he's got himself out of situations. I mean, even against like Ortega, you've got to have a certain amount of IQ to get out of both of those situations he found himself in. But I think judging off his fights with Max, Ortega, and his journey to the top, his IQ's.
Mate, the Max fights were literally like a chess match. Like one of them would figure out something about the other, and then Volk would figure out something to that. Yeah, like, and it just go on and on and on. Like the whole fight, it was so sick to watch.
Chess match.
So it's a great shout, Sam.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Hardy, have you got any?
Yeah.
No,
extremely rogue shout. Extremely rogue shout that I've got right now.
Go on.
It's plainly, and it'd tell you why it's rogue. And it's partly because I've picked a lot of we've picked a lot of fighters already. So, I mean, this guy just comes to my head, and he's going to be very rogue. It's based off pretty much 2 fights. So, the first fight he lost. The first fight was a draw, and then the second fight he won. And it's Brandon Moreno. He came back in that second fight and just completely shut Figueiredo out. Don't know if any of you remember that second fight, but Figueiredo didn't even get a word in. And the first fight was so competitive. So that means Brandon Moreno's game planned perfectly for that rematch. And it was just so impressive to me that name kept coming to my mind when I was thinking about it. So that's my rogue suggestion.
Is that game plan execution, or is that fight IQ? Like, I see fight IQ.
I think they all fall into the same thing.
And he also had 2 bites at the cherry in terms of making a game plan for Figgy. He had 2 bites at the cherry, didn't quite get it right the first time, and then had the time to go away, look back on the first fight, and then come back.
Look, it's a fair point.
I think it's as good a suggestion as any.
I think the fight IQ is all about being in there, like adapting to what's in front of you, like on the night, and how you sort of face adversity and get around that with your knowledge of the game.
Just a quick pause because I'm just really want to shout and scream for a second. Lukaku's injured.
Irrelevant.
Not unless you think he's got good fight IQ. That's not relevant, I'm afraid.
That's why I said quick pause.
It's a difficult one, this, because there are it's obviously, like you said, we've obviously found it quite difficult to kind of quantify. Like, there's no stats we can look at to sort of lean on in terms of who's got the best fight IQ. So yeah, I guess it's a matter of opinion. But I think out of the options that you've all just suggested, Volkanovski was the one that I thought, for me, like you've got to have some fight IQ to beat Max twice, like with his fight IQ. Same with Ortega, both. Like I think, he's also beaten Jose Aldo, Chad Mendes, people like that. So I think I haven't heard a better suggestion yet than Alexander Volkanovski. We don't have him in the list already.
I'm happy with Volk.
Volk?
Yeah, Volk it is.
Alexander Volkanovski locking it in. This is another interesting one to quantify. The next one is Hart.
I've got a hands down suggestion for this, and Brian Ortega.
Yeah. Just for exactly the emotional, physical, psychological roller coaster he had to go through on both this championship fights.
He just puts it on the line every time and gives it his absolute all. Even against Max, he was still swinging in the last. And he looked like he looked in that fight and against Volk actually. He looked like Joanna after she'd fought Whaley. They sort of look quite similar.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. I mean, Joanna had like what's it called?
She looked like a Snapchat filter.
She had a hematoma.
Hematoma. That was the word I was looking for.
Any other suggestions than Ortega?
I can't think of anyone with more arm than Ortega.
No,
maybe just Whitaker. We've already put in.
I had Ferguson written down here. I had Rose Namajunas written down here. I had Donald Cerrone written down here for the pure fact that he keeps getting beat and he keeps coming back and he's still fighting and he's still going. He's got all these UFC appearances. Like he's been in some absolute wars. He's not afraid to bleed. So I thought he was a fair suggestion. Rose, for kind of what you said before, Ross, in terms of, coming back from the Andrade defeat and like other problems that she's been through to then come back, get an amazing KO that showed like maybe a different kind of heart than what we're talking about here. But those were my suggestions.
Who was your first one? So
Ben Askren.
Well, I mean, if you remember the Robbie Lawler fight, Askren showed some real heart in that one to end up turning around. He got dropped on his head as well, didn't he? And was almost finished. And then
he might have shown his heart might have come out of his anus and shown itself on TV, but that's about the only thing that he's shown in that fight.
To answer your question, Ross, I said Ferguson, Cerrone, Rose.
Cerrone. Oh yeah, Cerrone. I like the sound of Cerrone, but for me, it's
Cerrone just like fighting.
Ortega.
Yeah. But then maybe that's what I want in the heart of our robot fighter, though, isn't it? Like someone who just loves fighting. Is that not what we want?
When I considered
I want a dog that when it comes down to the wall and they're still in there, and even if they're getting battered or if they're losing, they still show.
Okay.
Or someone that can come back from the brink of defeat.
That's how I defined heart.
So Ben Askren, we're agreed then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should we robot off, or should we just get Ben?
Maybe if we could. This was like the second best option. Like Ben was unavailable, so we're gonna build this road. This dream
we'll settle for this. I guess.
No, that's his opponent.
Well,
we had to build a fighter that can beat Ben Askren.
No, it sounds like
no objections to Brian Ortega.
Majority is Ortega in it, so that's it.
Next one, confidence. And I'm going to make my pitch here first because we've spoken about him a few times already tonight. This might be blind confidence or it might be insanity, but Marvin Vettori I had written down here because my man is still out there telling people that he beat Izzy in the second fight, even though it was 50-45. He was telling Izzy in the Octagon afterwards that he'd beaten him. He still thinks he beat him in the first fight. Like, that is some confidence to get 50-45 and then still claim that
that's just arrogance.
Well, maybe we need a bit of that in our fight. Maybe we need a bit of that I can't lose.
Yeah, not delusional. So.
Yeah,
maybe
that's delusional. Yeah.
So Vettori goes too far away.
To be fair, confidence is delusion at the same time.
Yeah, I can see your point.
Like I say that point about delusional, but
I wouldn't want to be like that.
Yeah, for me, my confidence.
No, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't want to be like that, but
so I wouldn't want to put that trait into my fighter. I'd rather have the confidence of like Adesanya or even McGregor, where it's like a bit cocky confidence, but they've got a bit of swagger about it.
That's the point I was going to make. It'd be McGregor for me in terms of confidence. He always seems to think he's got a game plan for the person.
Yeah,
McGregor's a bit delusional as well, though. Like he still.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. That's what I was trying to say. The whole delusional point cancels out McGregor because he is a delusional bastard. But
he's like charming and cool with it, and like quite like witty. Whereas Vettori's just like a babbling buffoon who just repeats the same over and over again on the mic. You know what I mean?
I actually had McGregor down as well for confidence, but Ross, go on. You've got a shot there now.
Yeah, I had two here again. The one that I want to put forward, I think, is Colby Covington. I think he's
that's such a shout.
Very confident in his skills. Obviously, every fighter is confident that they can get the job done, but like I believe it when Colby says it. Do you know what I mean? Like And my other suggestion was it could border on arrogance again, but Sean O'Malley.
I'm not sure how.
I think he reeks of insecurity. Personally.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not sure how genuine his act is at this point.
Yeah.
Like whether he's playing it up a bit. Like I don't know how genuine it is in terms of genuine confidence / delusion in his ability. Like it just strikes me as playing a character.
Yeah, it's like he still doesn't believe that he got beat by Marlon Vera, did he? But yeah, it's sort of just a bit arrogant. But I'd probably be that confident if I was just knocking out bums.
Yeah.
True.
You know what I mean?
True. And it doesn't have to be justified confidence. It just has to be confident.
Yeah,
no one said it has to be justified.
I think he's very confident. When he's in there, he's very flowing, he's very in his zone. But I think I'm going to put Covington forward.
I like that. George Hardy?
Yeah. Well, I think Covington's a good pick because everyone else that I'd probably pick, I'd probably put in a different, or have put in a different category. So I'd probably pick Covington.
Sam, confidence? Any other suggestions on Covington? Otherwise, he's getting locked in.
I personally think it's got to be McGregor for me. He's Mr. Confident.
But we've got trash talk coming up, Sam.
Yeah, okay, yeah, Colby.
That's why I did it.
Okay, so that is our last category to get through.
So it's Colby.
Yeah, Colby's going in for confidence. Trash talk, to me, this was a straight coin toss between McGregor and Jorge Masvidal.
I think McGregor takes it just because of the classic lines, the most quotable guy in the whole UFC.
Yeah, it's the one line, isn't it?
He's the goal of trash talk. McGregor is trash talk.
And Chael Sonnen is an honourable mention.
Yeah, Chael's up there. Yeah. Chael's an honourable mention for sure. But that's almost what made McGregor who he is in it. Trash talk.
Yeah.
And just selling himself, marketing himself. It's what people tuned in to see.
Has it gone a bit stale though? Losing.
Yes.
Is he as good a trash talker now as he was in his glory days?
No, he's not.
He's not.
I think right now Jorge Masvidal is pound for pound the best trash talker in the UFC. Every time I listen to an interview with Jorge Masvidal, he has some unbelievable lines. He's got this style about him where it's cool, calm, relaxed. His delivery is good.
McGregor.
Right now, McGregor doesn't trash talk anymore. He's
got a good point.
Self-delusional tweets about it's just
and then took all someone's families out.
It's just, and the Khabib stuff was all he missed the mark with all that. He didn't really do any trash talk for the first Poirier fight. His trash talk in the second Poirier fight was the third Poirier fight was worse than the Khabib fight.
Poirier was beating him on the mic.
Yeah, easy.
To be fair, it's a fair point because I ruled out Tony from the jiu-jitsu category because it's not in his prime. Do you know what I mean? Prime jiu-jitsu Tony could have contended, but I didn't count him because it's not recent.
Yeah.
So
prime McGregor smokes anyone on the mic, but
yeah.
I think he's lost it personally.
Do you know who is good actually? Adesanya. But we've already got him.
Yeah, he is, but we've already used him.
He
was on my list. Yeah.
What about Triple C Henry Cejudo?
Yeah, but he's also not active.
He's not active, unfortunately.
What if he's about to book a fight with Volkanovski? Because that's the rumor, isn't it? That they're booking a fight with Volk.
Triple C because he's the funniest guy in the UFC.
If he wins that, he's C4 in it.
Yeah.
C4's a bad name.
Henry Cejudo is a good shout, but it depends if we consider him active or not.
No, he's not active.
I wouldn't say he's active.
What about other trash talkers? Nate Diaz, he's got a very unique style to his trash talk.
I don't think they trash talk with Diaz does. They retaliate, but I don't think they trash talk.
So you're telling me we're going to put together 12 categories for a fighter and we're not going to take any of the Diaz brothers?
Actually, if you can't trash talk in the Octagon, then there's nobody the same as the Diaz brothers because they're chat shit while they're in there.
Yeah, well, what about...
That's what they do, the talking.
Kevin Holland's quite known for his trash talk in the Octagon.
Yeah, because he's funny as well.
Yeah, he's just kind of... Even when he's getting beaten up, he's quite funny.
Yeah.
Probably, in fact, I'd say he's more funny when he's getting beat.
I'm going to revise mine to Nate Diaz because of the talking that he does when he's in there. I was even going to say Nick because you could count him as active now. But they both
there was no
there.
talking before, was there? There was no talking against Lawler really.
No, there wasn't.
Just heavy breathing.
Right, we're gonna have to narrow it down. Sam, you're set on McGregor, are you? I don't think we're gonna move.
It's got to be McGregor. I mean, if you compare him to Nick Diaz, for like in his last interview, said he didn't want to be there. It's McGregor. Yeah. He's known. He's the biggest star in the UFC, and what
Ben Askren's actually good at it.
Ben Askren's good at he is.
Ben Askren officially not going in my UFC robots.
He's officially retired, though, isn't he, Ben Askren?
Yeah. No,
yeah, but
Sam,
McGregor
I agree with Sam.
No, he snapped his leg in half.
Yeah, but is he going to fight in the UFC again?
Yeah, he's not retired, is he? He's not said he's retired. He's still on the roster. I agree with McGregor.
So we're going with McGregor.
Yeah. Although I do like your shout, Jorge, but
I think for me it's Jorge. But yeah, all right, we'll lock in. The final one on our list, Trash Talk, is Conor McGregor. Should we run through from top to bottom, lads? We've got
McGregor, George.
We've got our dream UFC robot. So boxing, we're taking Dustin Poirier's boxing. We're taking Israel Adesanya's kicks, Kamaru Usman's wrestling, Charles Oliveira's jiu-jitsu, Francis Ngannou's knockout power, Robert Whittaker's takedown defense, Max Holloway's cardio, Tony Ferguson's chin, Alexander Volkanovski's fight IQ, Brian Ortega's heart, Kobe Covington's confidence, Conor McGregor's trash talk, and we're all in agreement that this robot loses to Ben Askren.
That robot then you read that out and I was getting scared every time you added a new fucking feature to it.
Yeah.
I was thinking, oh my god.
I think we've done a pretty good job there, to be honest, lads. I think far less arguments in the pound for pound list, so that's at least one relief. And I think that's just about time for us to wrap up for this week. Last thing that remains for me to say is good luck with your bets this week. That goes to you, lads, and to anyone listening. Please remember to gamble responsibly and don't bet anything that you can't afford to lose. Remember, if you are listening, wherever you're listening, leave us a review, give us a comment, tell us what you think of the show. It helps other people find us on these various podcast pages and is very much appreciated. And if you enjoyed the show, go ahead and follow us on socials. It's Octagon_odds on Twitter and Instagram, Octagon Odds on Facebook and YouTube. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you again next week where, boys, we get to run through UFC 267, a prime time UK card. It's going to be epic. Can't wait.
Let's go.
Stay tuned for the next couple of weeks.
Thanks, boys. Good night.
Cheers, guys. Good night.